Hey everyone, Maze MTG here with another daily deck for the Storm the Citadel MTG Arena Singleton event. So this time we're going to be trying something a little bit different built around one specific card. If you don't know what Singleton is, it's a format where of your 60 card deck, everything that isn't a basic land, you can only play a single copy of it. So this deck's built around our single copy of Niv-Mizzet Reborn, a mythic rare card from the War of the Spark expansion. So if you haven't seen this card before, the first thing you might notice is the mana cost in the top right hand corner, one of each of the 5 colours of mana. You might ask in a Singleton format, how is that achievable? Well, if you also take a look down at the mana base, you might see that it starts with 10 shock lands and 10 check lands, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So what does Niv-Mizzet Reborn do? Aside from being a 6/6 flyer, when it enters the battlefield, you look at the top 10 cards of your library. For each colour pair, so for each of the guilds, we get a card that's exactly those colours. So Nicol Bolas the Ravager, he would be blue, black, red. That's more than 2 colours, so we wouldn't be able to take him. But something like Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, exactly blue and white, Azorius colours, that is a colour pair. We can put that card into our hand. The rest of the 10 go on the bottom of our library in a random order, so what we're looking to do with this deck is maximise the chance that we hit 10 cards with Niv-Mizzet Reborn. Will we win the game afterwards? Who knows, but it will be sick to do. So the mana base is the first and most important thing in a deck that's trying to cast a spell that costs white, blue, black, red, green. So as I've already said, we've got 10 shocks, 10 check lands, and as well as that, 4 other lands round out our 24. Those are Gateway Plaza and Rupture Spire, effectively functional reprints of one another, allowing us to play 2 copies of this effect. These are 5 coloured lands. We have enough Planeswalkers in our deck to support Interplanar Beacon, again as fixing for those Planeswalkers, and we don't have any Planeswalkers that have double of the same mana system in their mana symbol in their mana cost, so we'll be able to use Interplanar Beacon to fix entirely for the coloured mana requirements in most cases. Guildmages Forum is an interesting one. We can use it like a Shimmering Grotto to make mana of any colour by spending a mana in addition to it, so it kind of filters 2 mana down into 1 mana of any colour, but also if that mana is then spent on a multicolour creature spell, of which the deck has multiple, that creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter, so it's larger than it might otherwise be. With these lands, discounting Guildmages Forum, discounting Interplanar Beacon, we start off with 12 sources of each colour of mana, which is a good start for cards which only have a single instance of each coloured mana symbol in their mana cost. So things like the first of our 2-drops, Despark, looking for 1 white, 1 black mana. This deck is capable of casting these spells with reasonable efficiency a reasonable percentage of the time. If you're interested more in the number of sources of mana you need to cast certain spells at different points in the curve, whether they have single instances of mana symbols, double instances of mana symbols, or even something like Tempest Djinn where it's got 3 blue symbols in the mana cost, Frank Carsten on Channel Fireball's written a series of very interesting articles about it. If you Google them, you can probably find them. If I remember, I'll stick the link in the description below this video. So, as well as Despark, our 2-drop slot include 2 other removal spells in the form of Tyrant Scorn and Angrath's Rampage. Again, 1 of each of 2 mana symbols, give us some removal and interaction in the 2-drop slot. Guild Globe is one of our other 2-drops. This allows us a 1-shot fixer, so if we're looking to do something like cast Niv-Mizzet Reborn, or we have one of our spells with 2 of 1 mana symbol in, like Tolsimir or Ravager Worm, it can help us get the mana we require to cast those slightly more difficult spells, and it replacing itself, drawing a card, again, contributes to seeing the mana we need in a small way. The last 2-drop is potentially the most interesting. So, to make it so we're most likely to hit 10 cards with Niv-Mizzet Reborn, even though it's still a very small chance, we have 3 cards at least from each of the 10 guilds, and one of our Simic cards is Neoform. So what Neoform allows us to do is sacrifice a creature, get a creature with a converted mana cost equal to the sacrificed creature's converted mana cost +1, and put it onto the battlefield. It gets an additional +1/+1 counter, but that's not what we're interested in. What we're interested in is turning creatures like Elite Guardmage, Seraph of the Scales, our 4-drops, into Niv-Mizzet Reborn, getting that spicy trigger, seeing what we hit off the draw. Fantastic. Our 3s start with Thief of Sanity. I've talked a bit about this card before. Again, we should be able to reliably cast it with the mana base, and once it's on the battlefield, it's a game-ending threat in its own right if it proceeds unchecked. Attack your opponent a couple of times, get a couple of triggers, hit some worthwhile spells, and we can cast them for colourless mana effectively So if our mana base is being kind of awkward, as long as we have the Thief, as long as we're hitting castable cards, we can still keep the train rolling until we do draw the lands we require. Leyline Prowler's one of our Golgari cards. It's a 2-3 for 3, Death Touch, Lifelink, good and limited, not super exciting in a constructed format, but the fact it also makes a mana of any one colour allows us to again increase the number of sources of coloured mana in our deck, specifically of each colour of mana, again thinking about Niv-Mizzet Reborn's white, blue, black, red, green mana cost. Gruul Spellbreaker is one of our Gruul cards. The Gruul cards in the deck, they're not the best if you just cast them kind of on curve. There wasn't a lot of depth to the guild for us to plumb for a deck that's built like this, but Gruul Spellbreaker has useful text in terms of giving ourselves and Gruul Spellbreaker hexproof on our turn. Trample's nice, the Riot is important. If you cast this with haste, you can usually use it to go into a Planeswalker kind of as a surprise attacker, pick 3 loyalty off it, perhaps put it into the graveyard, and otherwise a 4-4 for 3 is above rate. Knight of Autumn is another flexible card, one of our Selesnya picks. Can either come in as a 4-3, destroy a problematic permanent, or gain some life in a racing situation if we're just looking to trade a body for something with perhaps 3 power, 2 toughness. Teferi Time Raveler is the first of our Planeswalkers. Powerful in Standard, powerful in Singleton, shuts your opponent's instant speed spells down, or at the very least makes them cast them only anytime they could cast a sorcery. The ability to bounce a permanent, draw a card, again, it's a tempo play that gives us more time to set up as quite a slow deck. Oath of Kaya and Bedevil, both targeted removal spells. Oath of Kaya does have some additional text that may be relevant on occasion with the Planeswalkers in our deck, but ultimately they're just in the deck to be removal. Bedevil does have double black in the mana cost. We're just about skating the number of sources to be able to cast it on turn 3 a reliable percentage of time, but with Bedevil being an instant speed removal spell able to hit creatures or Planeswalkers, you might not be looking to cast it on turn 3 anyway. By the time you get to turn 5, turn 6, the calculations in terms of the mana base means Bedevil should be castable, especially if we draw the last of our 3 drops, which we'll be looking at in a moment. Deafening Clarion, one of our Boros cards, it's a sweeper, so it can stem the bleed from an aggressive deck. Sometimes you just want to give your board lifelink to win a race. Sometimes you like to do both. A lot of our creatures do have more than 3 toughness and would persist through a Deafening Clarion. That last of the 3 drops I mentioned a moment ago, Chromatic Lantern. So it gives our lands the ability to tap for any colour of mana, so once this is in play, all of our spells are fixed, and it also provides 1 mana of any colour on tapping the artifact on its own as well, taking us straight past the 4-drop slot to casting 5 mana spells like Niv-Mizzet if we want to. However, I'm not too fussed about skipping the 4 mana slot, because we do have again a high number of powerful multicolour cards at this converted mana cost. So starting with Elite Guardmage, it's a 2-3 flyer. When it comes into play, replaces itself, gains a bit of life, and it's a 4-drop creature we can Neoform into Niv-Mizzet if we want to. We do have some other potential Neoform targets at 5, Tolsimir, Regisaur Alpha, but Niv-Mizzet is definitely going to be the target if we have a 4-cost card that we're Neoforming, because why wouldn't it be? Seraph of the Scales is another powerful 4-mana mid-range threat, this time one of our Orzhov cards. Afterlife 2 means the threat of the creature persists even if it does get removed from the battlefield, at the very least if it's destroyed. And it has a couple of activated abilities that can give it potentially relevant keywords as well, which, if you've been able to cast this card, you should be able to activate because they only require a single mana of those coloured sources. Hostage Taker, powerful 2-for-1 wrapped up in a Dimir card. Once you get your value off it as well, very Neoformable into Niv-Mizzet. Joyra was an interesting one. Not sure how good she's going to be, but just looking at the deck as a pile of cards, you have a lot of legendary creatures, you have a lot of legendary planeswalkers, Guild Globe and Chromatic Lantern are artifacts, so a lot of cards in the deck do trigger her ability, and we do want to be drawing cards. So we'll see how she plays out. At the very least, she's a fun card, one of our Izzet cards to potentially hit off Niv-Mizzet. Aurelia doesn't really fit into what the deck's doing per se, but it is a large creature at the 4-mana slot. If it has to trigger on itself, it's going to be a 4-5 Flying Mentor, which is fine for 4 mana. Again, it's Neoformable into Niv-Mizzet. We can hit it off Niv-Mizzet. And a lot of our cards are red incidentally or white incidentally in terms of creatures, so the trigger can go elsewhere as well. Prime Speaker Vannifar, it's a shame she can't convert herself into a Niv-Mizzet, but otherwise she's another instance of the Neoform effect without the +1/+1 counter, but It's a second copy for redundancy, allows us to convert other 4s into Niv-Mizzet, or get some value out of other 5s, turning them into things like our 6-drop creatures, Ravager Worm, Muldrotha, Vivectus, etc. So this next creature, Nicol Bolas the Ravager, the Scourge, a powerful dragon, an Elder Dragon, a card that when it comes into play, each opponent discards a card. You might notice its mana cost is 1 blue, black, red. What that does mean is that Nicol Bolas can't be hit off Niv-Mizzet, but it's powerful enough in its own right, and we're going to have the mana symbols enough of the time that I thought it was worth playing in the deck. It's a fun card. Might brew Grixis Singleton at some point, but this might be my only chance to cast Nicol Bolas in this format. Ral Storm Conduit, one of our Izzet cards. We have a number of instants or sorceries we can copy with Ral. The ability to scry is fine. It's just an Izzet card, really, that's in the deck for us to hit with Niv-Mizzet. We'll see how he plays out. He's something I'm open to cutting or changing, we'll see. Ral's Outburst. It's a fun card. Again, we want Izzet cards to hit with Niv-Mizzet, which is primarily why this card's in here. It deals 3 damage to any target. We then get one of the top 2 cards of our library, put the other into the graveyard. So it replaces itself. 3 damage, can hit anything, so we're talking planeswalkers, creatures, or opposing players. So that's enough utility that I think it justifies a slot as one of our Izzet cards. Next is a Golgari card, Vraska, the Golgari Queen, in fact. The ability to destroy non-land permanents with converted mana cost 3 or less is useful in the format, killing aggressive creatures, killing chromatic lanterns, smaller artifacts, enchantments like Search for Azcanta. A lot of the white enchantments that put a creature in a box can be destroyed by Vraska, and then once she's on the battlefield, just ticking her up, whether or not you're sacrificing permanents, pressures the opponent because they have to think about the inevitability of that -9 ultimate. Ajani is one of our Selesnya cards. Giving our creatures vigilance and gaining life, not a big deal on its own, but in conjunction with the -2, the ability to distribute counters to our board to our other planeswalkers as well, makes him an interesting inclusion. He's one of our Selesnya cards to hit. Again, kind of like Gruul, Selesnya's aggressive mid-range slant did make it difficult to find suitable cards, so we'll see how Ajani plays out. Tamiyo, Collector of Tales, however, has no such problem. She's everything we want to be doing. Stops our opponents making us discard cards, sacrifice permanents. So the Eldest Reborn, at least 2 of the 3 modes, don't really bother us. The +1 lets us dig to things we might need. The -3, however, lets us get back specific cards from the graveyard if we do need to recur them. It's just a potentially grindy little piece for the deck. That moves us on to our 5-drops. So Regisaur Alpha is an aggressive 5-drop. While Niv-Mizzet, as I've said, is our primary Neoform target, sometimes you just need a 3/3 green dinosaur creature token with haste and trample to close a game out, or sometimes you just want to make 7 power and 7 toughness across 2 bodies on turn 5. Regisaur Alpha fulfills both those requirements. A similar card that creates a token is our next 5-drop creature, Tolsimir, Friend to Wolves, creates Voja when it comes in, so this is 6 power, 6 toughness against 2 creatures, but the wolf gets to immediately fight a creature we don't control, and we gain some life as well. Niv-Mizzet Reborn, I don't think there's much more to say about this card other than it's insanely sweet, and I hope we get to cast it in some of our games. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, is a card we haven't talked about already, but there's not a lot to say that hasn't already been said in the time since Dominaria was released. A very powerful planeswalker, one of our Azorius inclusions in the deck. Angrath the Flame-Chained, again, it's more of a card on the mid-range end of the spectrum compared to the aggression that Rakdos is usually known for. Like Angrath's Rampage, like Bedevil, they fit into this deck better than an aggressive creature or an aggressive 5-drop would. Being able to steal opposing creatures is fine. Attacking with them is so-so. What we really want is that ability to sacrifice them if they have converted mana cost 3 or less, and the +1 pressures your opponent's hand as well. Another 5-drop Planeswalker is the Boros Planeswalker Huatli Warrior Poet. Haven't really seen this card much, but I like the card. I like that the 0 makes 3/3s. Gaining life may be relevant on occasion, but the real reason to plus Huatli to accrue loyalty on this card is her -X that deals damage to opposing creatures, stopping them blocking if even 1 damage is taken by those creatures. The last 4 cards in our deck start with Find Finality. It's sitting in the 6 converted mana cost slot because of the Finality half, but you can potentially get utility from both halves of this card. Finality is a sweeper. It's a sweeper that goes alongside Deafening Clarion, but unlike Time Wipe or Cleansing Nova, you don't need 2 mana of the same color. which makes it a better fit for this deck overall, I think. The remaining 6 drops in the deck, we have Ravager Worm, the double green. By turn 6, we should have between Guild Globe, Lantern, Leyline Prowler, and the mana base the way it's constructed, so I'm not too concerned about not being able to cast it. And worst case, we can always Neoform, Vannifar one of our other 5s into it once they've created a token. Niv-Mizzet Reborn is not going to get Neoformed, let me just say that right now. When Ravager Worm comes into play, it does either get to eat an opposing creature if the fight is favourable. The destroying a target land mode doesn't come up all that often. Vivectus Asmadi, the Dire, isn't going to be a card we take off Niv-Mizzet, but is another Elder Dragon like Nicol Bolas. What I like about this card is the effect when it attacks. It's just a bit of fun. When it does attack, we choose a permanent each player controls. Those permanents go away, and then we reveal the top card of our library, and if it's a permanent, we get it. So what you do here, normally you pick one of your own lands, your opponent's biggest creature. Typically they're going to receive a downgrade if they hit. Typically you're going to receive an upgrade if you hit. And then lastly, Muldrotha the Gravetide, the star of our previous video with the Golgari deck splashing blue. In this case, again, can't hit it with Niv-Mizzet, but once it comes into play, you get to play lands from your graveyard, we have Guild Globe that we can get back, and we have creatures and planeswalkers as well, and a 6/6 for 6 is just a good rate. So this deck looks like a laugh. We're going to take it into the queues in a moment. Let me know what you think of the deck, any changes you'd make, any suggestions for other gilded or non-gilded cards. If you leave those in the comments below. But let's get into the games now. Alright, so let's see if we can live the dream of casting Niv-Mizzet. I'd say on turn 5, but I'll set up for casting Niv-Mizzet at all. So without further ado, let's jump into the Storm the Citadel queues with our deck. Waiting for an opponent currently. I'm sure there'll be plenty. The Singleton event's only been live for, at this point, I guess, nearly 24 hours. Oh, just over 24 hours. Disregardless is our opponent with the Angrath avatar. We are Gideon, but really we are Niv-Mizzet. So we're on the draw. This hand's interesting. Between Rootbound Crag, Rupture Spire, Guild Globe drawing us a card and being on the draw, I think this is a keep because we can make Prowler on 3 with any land, presumably. And then we can just curve out from there. Between Crag and Spire, we can make Vannifar, we can make Angrath. The only card we can't cast is Elite Guardmage, but Cracking Globe would give us the mana if that was necessary. So we're going to lead on Rootbound Crag here. Draw a Dragonskull Summit. Kind of awkward all our mana's coming in tapped, but that's what we signed up for. No shocks in this hand. Dragonskull Summit not helping us to cast our Elite Guardmage, unfortunately. Let's remember to pay for our Rupture Spire. So next turn we're going to play Guild Globe unless we draw something untapped that allows us to make this Leyline Prowler. Our opponent makes a Rubble Belt Rioters. That's an interesting one. So this Glacial Fortress I think I'm going to play. And then we're still just going to make Guild Globe. Or we can make Guild Globe and draw a card first actually. That's the right order to do things then. What do we draw? We draw Hinterland Harbor. I'm just going to play Fortress and pass. So making a 3-mana play next turn, it might be Oath of Kaya depending on what their 4 is. It's not going to be Oath of Kaya. It is going to be Leyline Prowler presumably, so there's Muldrotha. Hinterland Harbor. So we definitely make Leyline Prowler. Put Hinterland Harbor in tapped. So we have Vannifar in our hand. So we could cast Vannifar next turn. I mean, we could very easily be dead. Awakening of Vitu-Ghazi, main phase is interesting. Okay, oh, that's why it's good. Does this have Trample? It doesn't have Trample. Okay, so do we want to trade our Leyline Prowler for this Rioters? If we draw untapped land, we can Angrath the Flame Chain Vitu-Ghazi, which just gets it to go away. I don't know how we're answering a 9/9 otherwise. The thing is, though, Leyline Prowler lets us definitely cast Angrath. So this is 13 damage, which means the Phoenix is lethal next turn. So unfortunately, we do have to trade, which does make us vulnerable to just losing the game. So Vraska, is Vraska non-land? Yes. Vraska, why have you forsaken me? So opponent only has 13 damage on board. So maybe we just go for the fact that we want to cast Niv-Mizzet this game, yeah? So here's a Prime Speaker, here's a Dragonskull Summit tapped. Go ahead, opponent, please leave Vannifar alone. I will take 13, just don't burn my face, don't kill this Vannifar. Okay, so like I said, we're not blocking. No Collision Colossus. No Shock, no Lightning Strike, no Viashi, no Pyromancer, please. Oh, they had the Lightning Strike. Well, one turn away from casting Niv-Mizzet, what can you do? We're not just going to show the games where we do win, unfortunately. Let's play another, though. Let's jump back in. We died quick enough, I don't mind playing another game with the deck. It is, in fact, a pleasure to do so. Okay, we're ready. Who've we got? Tenso with the Vivian avatar. Well, let's see. So, what do we have here? We can cast Night of Autumn, we can cast Alpha, Bedevil's looking for another black source, Muldrotha's a Pipe Dream. I do think we have to keep it, though. I do think we have to keep it. We'll bring Sacred Foundry in tapped so we can cast Night of Autumn on 3 if we want to. Next turn's going to be spent committing the Rupture Spire. Ooh, Temple Garden. Does that change anything? Still can't cast Muldrotha, still can't cast Bedevil, so no it doesn't. Just going to make Rupture Spire. Go ahead. Hopefully, opponent makes Search for Azcanta. What? Oh, okay. For a second I thought we were playing Pauper, and I was about to accuse our opponent of cheating. Let's not shock in Temple Garden, actually. Let's just make Retreat, make Night of Autumn. Let's make Night of Autumn with counters, so it's bigger than these Petitioners. And let's pass. So, I'm assuming opponent's playing Mono Blue. Oh, they can just play Persistent Petitioners in this format, I guess. Wow, that's boring. How many do they need to start going off? 4. Does that mean I need to Vraska one of them? That's really the question. That's really the question. You'd assume so. So let's play Vraska. Let's -3 on the Petitioners. We're not going to attack. So what do we mill? Oh, Chromatic Lantern. How sad. We're not attacking because we'd like Vraska to survive, hopefully. And opponent can only play 2 Petitioners this turn. And they can't mill us otherwise. Sure, what do we draw? Glacial Fortress. So we can cast a Regisaur Alpha, in which case we're alright to attack with Night of Autumn. Yes. Oh, we should have played Regisaur Alpha pre-combat, maybe got him with the 3/3 as well. Opponent didn't want to triple block. Fair enough. Fair enough. Given that we made that boo-boo, do we still play Regisaur over Seraph? Interesting question. Yes, I think we do. I think we do. Could have gotten for an additional 3, but we missed it. Not sacrificing a permanent. We'll pass, though. We will pass, though. There's the 4th Petitioners. There's the 5th Petitioners. So we're losing 13 cards from our deck this turn. We're losing 13 cards from our deck. So Guildmages Forum means we can cast Bedevil. So between Vraska and Bedevil, we can kill 2 Petitioners, which I think we probably need to do. But I think we start with an attack. And I think the attack is with everything. What have we got? 47 cards. Go. Opponent's at 16. This is interesting. So, yep. A double block, triple block, even more of a block. They blocked all 5 on Regisaur Alpha. Okay. So they've blocked all 5 on Regisaur Alpha. They're taking 7. This kills 1 Petitioner. This is fine. Let's do damage. Yep. Resolves. Goodbye, Interplanar Beacon. Let's do damage. This means we don't have to use our Bedevil. Which means we could just play Muldrotha. Sure. Well, that was... Has Niv-Mizzet gone? That's the important question. Neoform's gone. Niv-Mizzet hasn't gone. Let's do damage. Sure. So opponents at 9, they have 4 Persistent Petitioners. We will -3 to kill one of them. So Muldrotha would let us replay Vraska. Ooh, I think Muldrotha's a good drop here. We'll play Muldrotha. Does this mean our whole graveyard's going to be shown as our hand? Ooh, we could play Seraph of the Scales and Neoform it. Oh, we can't cast instants from graveyard. Pooh. Darn, thought we had it. Maybe we should have Fine Broker in as a Golgari card. Ooh, we could get Tamiyo, get back Neoform. There's a combo. Okay, there's the 4th Petitioners again. Kind of awkward. Kind of awkward. Okay, so... Let's see then. Let's see. What do we want to do? Let's start by... So opponents at 9. Let's start by cast... Excuse me. Let's cast as land. What land would I like? Is Woodland Cemetery coming in untapped? Yes. I don't really want Interplanar Beacon. So there's Woodland Cemetery. Cool. Cool. So what could we do here? What 2-mana? Do we have anything 2-mana we can do as a creature or something? No. Okay. If we cast as an artifact, we can make Chromatic Lantern. Don't time pressure me, game. Don't time pressure me. Oh, opponent conceded before we could figure out the line. I think they understood they were probably dead, though. That's a shame. We're going to play one more game. We're 1-1 with the deck now, though. What's our card of the day? Pride of Conquerors. Let's go. One more game. One more game. So the mana seems to be working out alright, so our maths can't be too bad. Thor's Oath the Tools. Or Thor's Other Tools? They're a Vivian, whoever they are. So what can we do with this hand? We can't cast the Alpha or the Vanathar till we draw green, but we're on the draw and we can cast Oath and we can cast Hostage Taker with any other land. So I am sold. Don't have Llanowar Elves. Thank you, opponent. So we do have Ral. Don't know how keen I am on having drawn Ral. But we don't have any instants or sorceries in hand to copy either. Miscloaked Herald. Okay, Jade Bearer, and that's a combo. Hopefully opponent doesn't have River Herald's Boon, or we could... Ooh. Or we could be in trouble. So that's fixed our mana woes. But I think next turn we're just going to be casting Oath of Kaya on this. Probably. Oh no, we could just Hostage Taker it on 4. Maybe. Because then it's less reliant on... If the opponent passes, they might have Swift Warden as well. The opponent might have Swift Warden. I'm just going to play Chromatic Lantern. Opponent has something. Yep. Go ahead, opponent. Hopefully they put Swift Warden... Well, yeah, Swift Warden would be fine. Yep, they had it. Smart. Pretty good. 6 power in play for our opponent. Regisaur Alpha can do some work if we draw land. Yep. Okay. Yep. Spark Double entering the battlefield as a copy of what? Swift Warden. Okay. Ooh, Find Finality. If we had mana, we'd be in an okay spot for that. What are we casting? So is Hostage Taker good here? Yes, I think so. Better than our other options at the very least. So let's cast Hostage Taker. Let's put... Ooh, this is a Spark Double, isn't it? Let's put Spark Double under the Hostage Taker. Give me that, please. That's interesting. So maybe we're going to Spark Double a Hostage Taker next turn. Opponent's curve has been pretty reasonable for a Singleton deck. But I mean, our curve is a pile of multi... Ooh, that's pretty good. That's very good. Yep, so we take 4, 5, 6, 7. If we were going to be able to cast this Find Finality next turn, I'd feel a bit better about our situation. Does Deafening Clarion do anything? No, it actually doesn't. We just die. What are our other options? We don't really have any. Well, So we can cast exactly one spell. Hostage Taker takes Warden. I guess it can chump, but then Warden comes back in. Or... yeah, because we're not going to be able to cast Find Finality next turn, whatever happens. So if we Hostage Taker... we're going to have to Hostage Taker, I think. So the question is, do I take the Spark Double or the Swift Warden? So if we take the Swift Warden, we can chump the Spark Double. I think we take the Swift Warden. Because opponent could potentially make a mistake and copy something like Mistcloaked Herald, and then we get to Deafening Clarion. Yeah, have to chump block. Have to go to 1. No, opponent made a 4-4. Opponent is a smart one. And Kopala. That's... I mean, not fine. It's okay, we don't draw anything anyway. We'll explode. Okay, haven't got to cast Niv-Mizzet yet. What's with that? Alright, one more game. One more game, let's go. Niv-Mizzet Reborn. That is an interesting piece of advice. Disregardless again. Why would you queue me with the same opponent? Different avatar, though. Ooh. 24 lands is fine, right? I mean, we can cast... what can we cast with this hand? Rouse Outburst. Can cast Neoform. We've got the London Mulligan. I think we have to Mulligan. And I think we have to keep. And I think the card that goes on the bottom... so... is probably Nicol Bolas, right? Yeah, probably Nicol Bolas. As sad as that makes me. I mean, that sounds pretty reasonable. Ah, Gruul again. Gruul School. I suppose if we can survive to Find Finality, we're in okay shape. We'll put this in tapped. This doesn't survive Find Finality, does it? No. Rhythm of the Wild is a good card. Yup, take 3. Ooh, Hostage Taker's okay, though. Woodland Cemetery, Thief of Sanity, go ahead. Go ahead, opponent. Go ahead. Gruul Spellbreaker, that's a card. Coming in as a 5/5, so doesn't actually die to Find Finality. Can be put under a Hostage Taker, though. So that's something, at least. That's something. Ooh, could just Teferi it, but then Teferi dies. Not really into that. Let's see what we hit with Thief. What do you get for me? So, we can look at and cast that card. So I guess Goblin's the only choice, really. Goblin doesn't do much against our opponent's board, though. So we'll shock this in, and we will Hostage Taker away that Spellbreaker. Get in a box. Go ahead. Yep. Field Gate. Rubblebout Runner. So coming in as a 4/4. Sure. No blocks. We need to draw a running land. That is a land. Having to shock it in is kind of awkward. Having to shock it in is kind of awkward. But I think it's probably fine, given that we get to cast 2 of our opponent's spells here. Definitely going to get in with Thief of Sanity. Who knows, maybe we hit something sweet. Sunder Shaman, Draconic Disciple. Ooh. I'll take Sunder Shaman. We're still going to just make Spellbreaker and Gravelhide Goblin, though. Because then opponent can't get it back by killing our Hostage Taker, and we now have chump blocks for days. Sarkhan is pretty good. Cool. So we draw Sulfur Falls. So we can actually cast Find Finality here. if we want to. Do we want to? What are our other options? So, we could Teferi. Ooh, this is actually interesting for a turn. So we have 6 mana. So we can either find finality. Maybe we... If we find finality, the Spellbreaker, we can take Sarkhan. I don't think we're going to do that. I think what we do starts by casting Teferi. And then what we'll do is bounce this dragon token, which draws us Anglass Rampage. So in that case, does that change anything? Not really, no. Okay, so we're going to send Thief of Sanity after Sarkhan. Yes, you have no dragons. Sarkhan goes down. We'll pass. Could have made opponent sacrifice a creature, but I don't particularly feel like it. Kind of concerned opponent's just going to draw, like... Well, Awakening's fine. Rubblebat Runner is coming at Teferi. Yep. So, if we draw Neoform, I kind of want to have this Hostage Taker around. But Spellbreaker blocks Goblin. Opponent concedes. Fair enough. Alright, so we've played about 20 minutes of games. We'll play one more game. We're 2-2 with our fantastic 5-color pile. One more game. This is the game. This is the game, everyone. This is the game where Niv-Mizzet comes into play, draws us a load of cards. It's going to be against Kensai, who is our opponent. I can feel it. We have the Neoform. Whatever the rest of the hand is, it's a snap keep. To be fair, I was about to say Bedevil is castable. That would be a lie, because our black sources include our red source. So this hand is actually sketchy. Incredibly sketchy. Green, green, red. So we can cast Ravager Worm with 3 more lands. I think we keep it and see what happens. I just like to durdle. Ooh, okay. So Hallowed Fountain doesn't really improve any of our casting things situations. Okay, opponent's in Esper colors. Find Finality doesn't do much for us here. We'll just keep playing Draw Go. Does the opponent have like Anticipate or Opt or something end of turn? Yep, Kaya. There are worse Planeswalkers. There are worse Planeswalkers for us to have to deal with. Can't cast Bedevil with any of this mana. So again, we'll save ourselves some life and pass. Find Finality, not going to do much until Kaya leaves the battlefield. Yep.
Funny, that's what I do.
So, what are we doing here? We can play Ajani or we can play Tamiyo. I think I'd like to play Tamiyo here. I imagine Tamiyo gets countered. But that's fine, okay. Tamiyo hath been absorbed. So we have no cards in exile, so Kaya's still not scary. Teferi here would be unfortunate.
I will not stand for such violence.
Well, we drew a land. Again, not really much we can do, just going to jam Huatli. Huatli resolves. Alright, make a dinosaur.
To the sun. Go and feast on their flesh.
Go ahead, opponent. Interesting. What's going to happen now? Yep. Opponent passes. So now we do have Bedevil online. Now we have Bedevil online. So we could just jam a Ravager Worm. Don't know how good that is. Without being able to really eat anything. We're not under any immediate pressure. Maybe we just play out an Ajani and start ticking him up. We'll make a dinosaur. Eventually Huatli will run out of loyalty. We'll just plus Ajani. We'll pass. We will pass. Yep. Only 4 more turns till Kaya runs out of loyalty. Okay, Aurelia. Sure, why not? Make a dinosaur.
Go and feast on their flesh.
Make Aurelia. So we could Neoform Aurelia. Opponent's not really been doing anything. We'll do it. Neoform. Goodbye, Aurelia. Please. Please. Here he is. Niv-Mizzet Reborn. Okay, so what do we hit? Okay, I will choose a card. I want this card, I want this card, I want this card, I want this card. Okay, draw 4. Fantastic. Let's make everyone bigger.
Light shall always conquer darkness.
Fantastic. Fantastic. That's what we wanted. That's what we wanted. I don't care about this game. I don't care about this this game anymore. We've won. See, this is what winning looks like. This is Niv-Mizzet Reborn. He's back. Okay, Sunpetal Grove. I do want to do anything pre-combat. Is there any reason to? That's it. That's how you do. Opponent concedes to Niv-Mizzet. The power of Niv-Mizzet Reborn. I hope you enjoyed that. It took 5 games to get there, but I hope it was worth every second to you, because it was to me. Let me know in the comments if you think it was worth our time, if you liked the deck, if you didn't like the deck, if you'd make any changes yourselves. But whatever you do, don't say anything bad about Niv-Mizzet, because I will brook nothing bad being said about that mighty dragon. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this content, please subscribe, check out my other videos, enjoy the Storm the Citadel Singleton event, and I'll see you all again some other time.